We've all seen the pyramids of Giza, colossal testaments to the power and ingenuity of ancient Egypt. For centuries, we've believed these were the dawn of monumental architecture. But what if I told you the story of pyramids began thousands of years earlier, on a different continent, built by a culture you've probably never heard of? Prepare to have your timeline of history completely rewritten. We're not going to Egypt. Instead, our journey takes us to the sun-drenched coast of Brazil, to a time over 5,000 years ago. Long before the first stone was laid at Giza, a mysterious people were building their own massive structures, not from stone, but from seashells. These aren't the sandcastles you built at the beach. These are the sambaqui of Brazil. The word sambaqui comes from the Tupi language, meaning mound of shells. For a long time, archaeologists thought these were just ancient garbage heaps, giant piles of discarded clam and oyster shells from coastal communities. It's an easy mistake to make. Some of these mounds are enormous, reaching heights of over 100 feet and stretching for hundreds of feet in length. They are monumental in scale, easily mistaken for natural hills in the landscape. But a closer look revealed something astonishing. These weren't random piles of trash. They were carefully, deliberately constructed structures. Inside these shell mounds, archaeologists found more than just shells. They discovered tools, hearths, and most importantly, human burials. These were not garbage dumps. They were sacred spaces. They were necropolises, cities of the dead, built layer by layer over centuries, even millennia. So, who were these people? We don't know what they called themselves. They left no written language, no grand statues of their kings. What they left behind was their legacy, built from the bounty of the sea. These were hunter-gatherer communities, but they were anything but simple. They possessed a deep understanding of their environment and a complex social structure that allowed them to coordinate construction on a massive scale. Imagine the effort. Generation after generation, people would gather millions upon millions of seashells. They would mix them with sand, soil, and other organic materials to create a strong, durable building material. Each layer represented a period of use, a cycle of life and death. The dead were often buried with immense care, laid to rest with ornaments like necklaces made from animal teeth or polished stones, and tools they would need in the afterlife. Some burials are incredibly elaborate, indicating a society with high-ranking individuals, perhaps priests or chieftains who commanded great respect. These shell pyramids were the center of their world. They were landmarks, visible for miles along the coast. They were ceremonial centers where communities gathered to honor their ancestors and perform rituals. The constant addition of shells to the mound was an act of sacred duty, a way to build a connection between the world of the living and the realm of the spirit. Think about it. They were literally building mountains for their gods and their ancestors, using the very shells that sustained their lives. Dating these structures pushes our understanding of civilization to its limits. The oldest sambaqui have been dated to around 6000 BC. That's 8,000 years ago. To put that in perspective, the first stone pyramid in Egypt, the Pyramid of Giza, was built around 2700 BC. This means the people of coastal Brazil were building their own monumental structures a full 3,000 years before the Egyptians. It's a staggering thought. While people in many parts of the world were living in small, nomadic bands, the Sambiki builders were creating permanent, sacred architecture that would last for millennia. One of the most impressive examples is a site known as Sambiki da Lagoa dos Indios. This complex of mounds is vast, and analysis has shown it was a place of enormous ritual significance. Another, the Garopaba do Sol Mound in Santa Catarina, is estimated to contain more material by volume than some of the smaller Egyptian pyramids, and it was all built by hand, shell by shell. So why haven't we all heard about these incredible structures? There are a few reasons. First, they don't look like the pyramids we're used to. They are weathered, covered in vegetation, and often mistaken for natural features. Secondly, their history has been tragically erased. When European colonizers arrived, they saw the Sambiki not as sacred monuments, but as a convenient source of raw material. The shells, ground up, made excellent lime for construction. For centuries, these ancient pyramids were systematically destroyed. Roads, buildings, and entire towns in coastal Brazil were built using the powdered remains of these 5,000-year-old sacred sites. It's estimated that over 90% of the Sambiki have been lost forever. We are left with only a fraction of what once was a landscape, dotted with hundreds, if not thousands, of these shell monuments. It is one of the greatest archaeological tragedies you've never heard about. But the story isn't over. Today, archaeologists in Brazil are racing against time to study and preserve the remaining Sambiki using modern technology like ground-penetrating radar and DNA analysis of the human remains. They are piecing together the lives of this forgotten civilization. Each shell, each bone, each tool is a clue that helps us understand their diet, their health, their social organization, and their spiritual beliefs. We are learning that they were a robust and healthy people, their diet rich in seafood. We are learning that their society was stable and lasted for thousands of years, far longer than many of the more famous ancient empires. They were a civilization that lived in harmony with their environment, using the resources of the ocean to build a vibrant and complex culture. The Sambiki builders challenge our very definition of a civilization. They show us that monumental construction, complex social structures, and deep spiritual beliefs were not exclusive to the agricultural societies of the Old World. They prove that a different path to complexity was possible. One built not on farming and stone, but on fishing and shells. The next time you think of the first pyramids, I hope you'll remember the story of the Sambiki. Picture the coast of ancient Brazil not with limestone blocks, but with shimmering mountains of seashells rising against the horizon. These were the true first pyramids, built by a mysterious and ingenious people who got there thousands of years before anyone else. Their story, once buried and almost lost, is finally being told. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into forgotten history. Let me know in the comments what other ancient mysteries you'd like to explore. Until next time, stay curious.